What's up, Wednesday Night Live? Thanks for tuning in. We are smack dab in the middle of a summer mini-series on the Beatitudes. These countercultural sayings of Jesus about what happiness really looks like, where blessedness is truly found. And we live in a world that says to be blessed is to be powerful or wealthy or comfortable. But Jesus says real blessing, real peace, real fullness is found elsewhere. It's found in being poor in spirit, meek, and merciful, among other things. And tonight we're going to take a really short look at the sixth Beatitude. I feel like I could preach an entire series of sermons about this one verse, but tonight I want to spend like 2 minutes on it because I don't want to pretend that this is any more complicated than it really is. What Jesus says here is simple and clear and super offensive. Like, this is easily the most personally challenging and offensive beatitude for a lot of people. When I sit with people in counseling meetings and I point this truth out to them, they don't always like it. It's dangerous. Jesus says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 8, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God." He kind of baits us with this one. He asks this question, do you want to see God? Do you want to see life so clearly you can notice where he is at work in the world? You want to be able to recognize like God's plans for you and for your life. You want to see things as clearly as anyone possibly could. Would you like to live with that type of clarity? Because he knows the answer for all of us is yes. And he says, sweet, here's how. Be pure at heart, intentionally. This is an uncomfortable truth for many of us. You simply cannot chase God and tolerate sin at the same time. And some of us have been trying. We got our little pet sins and we know they're wrong, but we keep on trying to convince ourselves that they're not that big of a deal and they're not that bad and they don't really cut us off from God. And then we complain that like it's hard to see God and it's hard to know God and it's hard to understand what his will is and it's really difficult to follow him sometimes. But the darkness in our souls is not in him. Like in my experience as a pastor, I see this all the time. People want to talk and their life is all messed up and they ask this question, how did I not see it coming? Like, how did I not know that that was the consequence? How did I not realize that was coming down the line? And I've been in that exact same boat, but there's an answer to that question. How did I not see it coming? Jesus answers it right here. We can't see with clarity when we're not living with purity. Jesus calls us to chase holiness because he knows it leads to happiness. He invites us to purity in the middle of a culture that doesn't even use that word except when we're talking about water. Like, it's such a lame, old-fashioned idea. It means we miss out on all the good stuff the world has to offer, doesn't it? Miss out on this awesome stuff that's fun but impure. No, it doesn't mean missing out on anything. It's the opposite. Seeing the presence and the movement of God in the world isn't missing out. It's truly living. And that's what purity, like moral, ethical, and mental purity affords us. I don't have to experience everything to understand it. Nobody out there in our world is calling us to this truth. Very few people are reminding us of it. But please get this tonight. If you want a bigger, better picture of who God is and who he made you to be, if you want to live fully, you got to understand this. Purity leads to clarity. Happy people understand that purity leads to clarity. So I want to invite you tonight to chase purity with everything you've got. I want to invite you to settle for nothing less because blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God.